that we have. Because I seen Lee in action one night, I thought he broke the,
Yeah.
What's that?
hey, never mind.
Oh.
If you're not paying attention, you don't get to hear it. Call the meeting to order. Here's the eyes for the pledge of allegiance. Melanie, would you get us going, please?
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, before we can let Pete go on, we have to have an oath of office. You want him to rise?
Yeah,
Raise your right hand.
I gotta sign it.
Everything you say is the truth.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office
of Planning Commissioner
of Planning Commissioner
in and for
in and for
the Village of Ortonville,
the Village of Ortonville,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
and State of
and
Michigan,
the State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Great.
Who else took that already? Did we all take that?
We've been discussing that.
I have to get another picture of you too. Wait 1 minute, Pete, I'm sorry. Can I
Okay.
get another picture of you next to Jenna
Oh, sure.
and put your hand in?
Yeah, I think.
That way we have
I know I
it on
did,
paper.
Patty and I did.
I don't remember.
Well, it was so long ago.
I know.
You and Lee, they probably didn't even have the oath at the point.
And I'll have Miss Jenna look
It
at
was on a tablet, I think.
No, but hey, Bob, picture me, it'll be called.
Rick, if you did, it's in that book. Or should be.
Really? Don't remember that.
an oath. I'm sure you did.
Good.
You had to. I'm just wondering who, I'm sure Liz did it probably for.
And I don't think we need to introduce everybody knows one another here now.
Liz.
Miss Jenna, can you just, yeah, just, you both look at me right now like that, that would be beautiful. Get a little closer. No, you don't have to put your hand up, you're not being sworn in. I'll step next to you closer. There we go. All right, that's still far away. I got this. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Should it be blue? Doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
And like I say, I don't think we need to have introductions because we all know one another well enough.
I think we all know.
So okay with that, we'll finish what you're doing. So before I
That's
do-
okay.
So we have a roll call.
Burkett,
Here.
Conway, McAvinci,
Present.
Nigel,
Here.
Olson,
I think with, I'm pretty sure she had a death in the family.
Halshan,
Yes.
MacArthur.
Here. Thank you. The agenda, it's not overly crowded. Is there any questions or concerns? Deletions, we can always delete something out of here. Okay, with that, motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Bob, you there?
I got one question before we accept it.
Okay.
Follow up on the master plan with the consulting firm. Can we discuss that in our comments or no?
Yes,
Okay.
you can do anything in the comment, well, pretty much anything you want in the comment.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Sorry,
Rick,
did you get it?
Rick moved and I think Melanie seconded, didn't she?
No, I didn't open my
I
mouth.
seconded it.
Lee seconded, okay, thank you, I thought somebody did. Caught me already.
I was waiting to see if he'd fess up.
Approval of the minutes from September 7th, we've had for, well, since the 8th. Any questions, concerns?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of September 7th, 2021, as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comments? Public comments, you got anything to say, young man?
Nah. Didn't prepare, sorry. Next time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. Chairperson comments? Not a lot. I think anything I have is going to be between the committees and Ryan's and questions there. So I'm all set. Anybody, commissioners, Rick?
Start the other way around.
Certainly will. Lee?
All right, first of all, I'd like to make a comment about our village manager and the DPW. We went through here a couple weeks ago, September Fest, and I think they did a fabulous job. The village looked beautiful, everything was neat and clean and all that good stuff. So I just like to thank the
All about
village
it.
manager and all the employees related to that.
Those guys worked their heart out for the village.
The other item would be, I wasn't at the last meeting, I don't know if there was any discussion on the master plan revision or not.
Yes, and do you want to wait till Ryan, until you make comments, or I can
Either way.
we can start with a couple 2 cents.
Yeah.
I met with, Patty and I met, and we come up with a fairly simple, uncomplicated, about 3 or 4 sentences to indicate that we are considering in the direction of having trails and in the wildland parks, and which would include the other parks. It wasn't just, it did use the term in what we come up with, wildland park, but it also included any of the parks, so that it didn't exclude anything. It pretty much allowed it to where trails, pathways can be made, bridges can be made on any of the village parks. It did not go into a lot of depth. We used, let's see what portion of it, not getting too close to the, oh no, that was in the ordinance.
That's the
I'm sorry, the ordinance,
Yeah.
which got accepted last council meeting there. The ordinance did get adopted at the last council meeting, taking your job away, Melanie.
No, that's fine.
But in that, we did come up with something on that, and it will be presented for our next meeting, or the next 2 meetings. Probably December, because Ryan has a plan for our next meeting that we'll go over, but we'll probably present that at the December meeting along with the sewers on what we can and should be adding to it. And there's some discussion there of exactly how much. In the previous one, there had to be 10 pages, and I'm not really sure that's all that necessary. We just want to make, Patty and I in our meeting just seem to be heading for, that's just something we need to consider and stay up with, instead of trying to come into a whole definition of sewers and septic and all of that at this point. That'll probably cause enough interest as it is. So that, but that's where we're headed to with it, and we should have that ready for the December meeting,
Okay.
because we do want to get that done. Got the ordinance done, and now the master plan is,
So that coincides with all
Yeah.
of our things. Thank you.
okay. Melanie?
Okay, yes, the ordinance was adopted, and everyone had that in their packet last time. What else? Heritage Garden, October, so, which is now October, we should be seeing something from Oakland County, from Ron, so as soon as we see something, I will pass the information along. We'll have to meet, Ron will meet with the committee, and then, you know, we'll go from there. But, we haven't seen any renditions or anything yet, so it's coming in October. We just have to remember he's a one-man show, and for Oakland County, so he has a lot on his plate. Wayfinding, the council did accept the bid from Lakota. So we are going to be starting on the wayfinding for the village, with a meeting coming up with Lakota probably in the next 2 weeks. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm just thrilled that it's going forward for the village. It's gonna be great.
And Melanie, that, what they approved was no signs, it was just the,
Yes,
Correct.
the approval is for basically where the signs go, what type of signs, and then a sign design. We may have some savings. DDA is giving us a technical assistance grant, again this year, which is fantastic, and we need to thank them very much for doing that 2 years in a row. So we may find some savings enough to perhaps get a gateway sign even yet in this phase 2. But phase 2 is basically a map of where signs go, what doesn't belong, where they should be, the design, and then the phase 3 is when you start manufacturing and producing signs.
so they're looking at phasing in signs, that's not buying them all.
Correct. And then at that point, that's when the whole project goes to the village, and this becomes the village, the village manager's role every year, every budget year. Hopefully, at least that's how we're looking at it now, and we can't predict, but every budget year, money is to go into this budget for wayfinding, and signs are prioritized, and this company will prioritize signs for us, which ones are the most important. And you purchase what you can afford each year, and you just start replacing the signs every year. It's a commitment, and, it may take 5 years, but it started, it was approved, and we're actually going to do it. And I'm thrilled, and it will really help the businesses.
So we're looking at the DPW to install signs when that comes, or?
No.
Probably not. I mean,
Usually the company that produces the signs
I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that.
installs them, is generally how it goes. That way they're guaranteed warranty
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Perfect.
Yeah, so no, we don't need to put any more work on our DPW. Yep.
they did, the Lakota group did the signs in Lake Orion, so if you're familiar with all their signs, their whole sign family, so they have some that are tall, some that are small, some that are gateway, a whole big variety. If you want to look at more examples, this is their response to our RFP, so it has lots of details in there. If you're
Did
curious.
you have a question on?
I just wanted to know what signs they were talking about, was it two signs or what we were talking about first?
Maybe
all of it.
eventually, you want to pass that fee.
Yeah. All of it, anything that park signs, for all our parks, for the ballpark, for our gateways, for, right now we have a menagerie of, like, we have the Lions, and we have the Chamber of
Right.
Commerce, we have and it's kind of all trickled all around, there's no rhyme or reason right now in the village. This process will bring an actual plan that, from here on out, this is where those signs go. This is where this goes, type of thing, so.
I don't even know the last time we did street signs, but some of them are so sun-bleached, like the
Yes.
one on Allen Street, like you can't read a lot of them.
Yes,
So that's probably part of the conversation too.
yeah,
Right on down to
removing, yeah,
Everything.
yep.
Okay.
Okay, so that's looking at Every sign.
Every sign, like in our neighborhood as well,
Are
we have
they
slow
looking at-
children, you
Are
can't
they
even
looking
read it.
at just a straight blade for the street signs, or are they looking at some fancy thing that confuses the heck out of everybody?
you
Stone
know,
monument. It's
yeah, a monument.
So,
for
that's
every
gonna
street.
say.
You see some road signs that are like,
They're actually cool.
they're really just a little too cool
Yeah.
for people to really,
Yes.
that are looking for a road.
Right.
Yeah, no, that was just my.
Yeah.
No, that's Bob being Bob, I like it. Okay, so wayfinding heritage, the ordinance, I did a Rails and Trails webinar, and I did not learn much at all. It was for bigger running, railways. But I did get some info on a contact and some grant information for trail funding, so that was useful. So after that hour that I can never get back, I did get some useful information at the end. So that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Pete, I'm so glad you're here. You're gonna offer a lot to this. I'm looking forward to it. I think everyone is.
Hope I don't disappoint you.
Me too, Pete. I hope you don't. And Bob, congratulations on Citizen of the Year.
Okay, yep.
Right. Oh, you vibrated on that.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. That's all I have.
Senior center call. Pete, you have anything,
Nothing further, thank you, everybody.
hopefully you're picking up a little bit of everything that we're involved with,
I am.
and pretty much the comments everybody's making is the committees that are active. So if you hear something that sounds interesting, then be sure to
Okay.
let me know, or whoever's presenting it, and get you on it, and, because always use help on all
Okay.
Did he get a full, I don't know, what did he get in his packet? Did he get everything, or is he missing?
A little bit of everything. So, do you wanna speak to it?
Well, I emailed today a list of resources, and if you wanna look at it, let me know which of those you'd like printed.
Okay.
That way I don't print things.
Sure.
There's a lot of things that could be printed. There's a lot of good stuff, like from the Municipal League, the Association of Planners, there's lots of, planning commission guidebooks essentially that, some are pretty beefy.
Okay.
So if you just wanna look at it digitally, that's okay, but we're happy to print them in the office if you'd like.
Okay, if I sign something that I like to bring, absolutely, I'll,
Definitely.
thank you.
Yeah.
And he needs, I'm sure, a zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
Does he have zoning and he has master plan?
I think the link to those, because they are on documents on demand, I think.
The.
Or in your list.
Okay,
Yeah.
so is everything going to him electronically then?
Most did for now,
Okay,
but happy to print stuff.
I would like to see the zoning ordinance printed out.
Those are handy.
Yeah.
yeah, I have notes all over.
You gotta have that, and probably before too awful long,
We
because the
refer
next
to it.
meeting, hopefully our next meeting will be, get in depth in
Yeah.
that, so.
Sure.
And then we also have the bylaws too, but we're changing that, and that's something that will be sent.
And you should have a copy of those.
Yeah, I read those.
In there. Okay, heading on. Okay, Rick, you got it together?
Yeah, good, yeah, well, okay. Tell me if you can not hear me by any problem with that. Anyway, committee update, well, Lee and I haven't done, we can go out into more detail on, say, bridges and both areas of trails that were proposed and what,
A little louder, yeah.
okay, here we go.
There.
So, I'm trying.
Yeah.
I actually testified in court yesterday all day with a few hours with this on, but I had a microphone. So. Anyway, it worked. So we need to go out and check with you about a day, because we haven't been able to get Will except Sunday afternoons for anything. But maybe we'll work with him.
He's on his way, by the way, he just texted.
Oh, is he? Okay. And to get all the information we need on necessary little bridges on parts of our two trail systems, existing and proposed. And take pictures and then with Will, hopefully we will, figure out the actual materials we need to build all these things.
Well, which trails are you talking
Do you do this every time?
Yes.
Let's see, there's the existing trails up there. that
Okay,
we mapped
so it's
already.
just this area? Is it
And then the ones that we figured out from Kent Road up to right here.
Okay,
This is
so,
the west trail
okay,
that you and Larry and I went through and more or less figured that out. And then-
okay, so then you guys will bring us the,
And Lee and I,
The paths, the
and
maps.
Kevin mapped most of that, and then Kay and I mapped the southern half of that. So that trail system is not in existence, but we have it proposed and it's mapped out and everything, ready to go.
well, we gotta look at it first.
Well, and,
Right.
and with that,
We've all looked at it except for Bob.
Well, no,
I've seen it. At the council meeting, in regards to the ordinance, that question come up as I use the term we have. That's how we developed the ordinance, because we were looking at what was proposed trails. I forget, it was one of them said, well, have we seen the proposed trails yet? And I said, no, we haven't presented them thoroughly at our meetings. And they had me trying to be on my toes to get past all of that, we drew it up proposably, looking at it, so we could complete an ordinance, so now we can move on. We have the ordinance, now you can move on further with the trails, and they bought that. And the subject didn't come up anymore, so we are at the point of needing your proposed trails at a meeting for us to review
Yeah.
and to accept. And then other things, I'm guessing, can move forward. I'm sorry, Rick, but I just want to make sure that, to help out with what Melanie was asking about.
Yeah.
So is it
They-
clear about what trails we're talking about yet?
Yes, but, then are we clear that your plans have to be broader so we can look at them? So, and I would do that before you start thinking about bridges and this and that, because it's putting the cart before the horse.
I don't think so.
Okay.
We actually want to have the information so that it's kind of like a report package, so everybody can see all of it, and then we go forward from there.
Okay, all right. And then you took into consideration some of the recommendations that were given to you about the bridges and whatnot too.
What recommendations?
Maybe, can I interject, Jim?
I think so, yeah, he's
No,
talking about
what
this
we're doing is, we've got the western trail, eastern trail plotted out. We can get it printed, what'd you say, Rick, it's,
Poster size is what it's
yeah.
it's made of
And-
posters.
What Rick and I are doing, and we're gonna present this to the planning commission as a whole. And all we're gonna point out is, if we use the proposed trails as shown on the map, item 1, we're gonna say, we need to have some sort of footbridge or something to get across a stream or whatever. Rick and I are planning to get together, take photographs at Station 1, Bridge 1, Bridge 2, Bridge 3, walk through it, and then that would be presented to everybody in the planning commission. And at that point, we can hammer out what we want to put in there, what we don't want to put in there, and then we can make a resolution, recommend it to the village
Oh,
council.
that's wonderful. What's your time frame on that?
What's that?
Presenting the planning, what's the time frame?
I'd say next meeting.
I would
We
say,
shouldn't have any problem getting it done by next meeting.
Okay, good.
yeah. Because biggest thing is, Rick's schedule and my schedule to get out there. And like I say, we can, I believe, do we have a computer that where if we just put something together like a PowerPoint and boom, boom, walk through it, so everybody on the planning commission can see it. We're not gonna write construction plans of the bridges, it's strictly gonna be bridge required, we have to span X amount of feet.
And well, you can't lay out a trail if you don't know that you got to put a bridge on it. I mean, that's a given. But with that, if we do it, if we can have that plan in December, it would work out really well, because then the only thing we have on that, hopefully on that December agenda, will be the master plan, which will include the trails, and then that more than likely is gonna be the only thing on the agenda. And
But it would have to come to us in November, and then go to council at the end of November, if we approved it, to go on to get approval from council, right?
we're probably looking at January to the
To
council.
be on, I mean, to
Council
be
will
real,
meet after
yeah.
the plan
That's-
in December.
But I think we'll get it done 2 months, can't we, Rick?
I think so.
I don't see why, it's not gonna be
But that's
No,
next month.
full-blown text, it may be handwritten
So
and.
you're saying 2 months, not next month then?
Yeah.
Right, we're
Really?
saying, hopefully we can have that presented at our December meeting, and then we can spend time strictly on that. And obviously, there'll be some document that we'll get ahead of time for everybody to look at, so when it comes time to what you're presenting, we've seen it, which is just standard business.
Yep.
And,
Does this include the Narren Park at all, or is that separate? Are we doing that separate?
Well,
I'm just wondering if
I
there's
think
a
so.
survey that we could grab on that.
Because I think it was you and I that was working on
Yeah.
that. But I think Lee, or Rick, you've done some mapping of that.
the same day that Mike Woods and I went over and mapped this part, we went mapped what little trail there is along the creek in there.
In Narren, okay, good.
For the GIS.
Then we can
GPS.
look at that, that'll be
I
helpful.
think they're not
He
looking
had-
at the additional part.
Right,
They're looking at the existing part.
but that'll be helpful to know where we need to
Absolutely.
connect. So that's, okay, great, I'm glad
And
you.
Mike hadn't sent me that map yet.
Okay.
It's probably lower on his priorities. But the one he did send was very well done.
Good.
Almost all of it was, appears to be perfect. And you'll each have an electronic form of that. I was looking for it before the meeting. Gotta find his email where he sent it. But, so that you can actually enlarge it, and look at little individual trees and everything. It's a really good photo that he used for that. So anyway, in fact, you can see every tree in everybody's backyards, individual trees.
In wintertime, it'd be too bad we couldn't get a buzz over with pictures of that from
From a drone? We need some people that have drones. Is that
as
something
soon
we
as the leaves are
require?
down.
What's
As
that?
soon as the leaves are down, maybe we could find somebody to do a drone flyover. And some of that will be visible, even from the air, I would imagine.
Well, it'd be more visible if we take a bunch of, I don't know, pink colored oatmeal or something, and spread it out on the snow all the way through there once the snow's down, and then fly over it. Then you'd see every detail of every.
Like the foliage would be all
Right.
I'm serious.
Mhm.
That is a really good way to get a really good picture of exactly where the trails are.
Yeah. But I think we'll get a picture of it from a drone at some point in time when the foliage is all off, so we can. It's always interesting when you see those.
All right, so I was up north in Marquette in some training when you guys had your redevelopment ready communities meeting. So I didn't get in on that, but in that regard, I have been driving around mostly at night, mapping the parking spaces in every place, public and private, except for the apartments down there. Places where I don't think they're gonna ever, let anybody park there, I don't bother with, but almost every place else I have. Did you know that the Baptist church has 108 regular parking spaces and then 6 disabled parking spaces.
Which one's the
One at
Baptist?
Church, or,
No, that's a.
Well,
We're talking about Hillside.
It used to be, the one over there,
Oh, right on
the second church.
Okay, yes, it's the second one, the big one, okay.
It's got a different name than, I always call it.
It's
the-
called-
yeah,
It's called Hillside.
Hillside,
Hillside,
yeah,
And the
okay.
Baptist church.
It doesn't look like it would have that many spots.
Yeah, I know, I was
At all,
surprised, and it
I'm
was like,
shocked.
it was like this dark, and I was driving back slowly through there, counting it all. Nobody came on after me. Anyway, that's what I've been doing, like, every chance I get.
I'm loving, don't lose that bag. Don't
I
you dare
know.
take that to BB's and get it mixed up.
I know, I gotta keep it in my car. So that's what I'm working on, but, one other comment, not related to a committee yet, is now it seems we have, you provided some information about the sidewalk that's supposed to be built along Ortonville Road. So is there a sidewalk proposal like that for Granger Road yet?
Not yet.
Well, it needs to be worked on as soon as the
So,
Oakwood Road is set.
yeah,
Not built,
it's,
it's set.
so the one on Oakwood is part of the small urban program through MDOT, where, and to qualify for small urban, you have to have an urban-ish area that has 5,000 people. So to get to that number, it's between the village of Goodrich, Groveland Township, and Brandon Township. So, Atlas is involved as well. So it's not just, a lot of places, you're the whole committee, you can say this is our project, and every other year, the state gives you up to $385,000 for your project. We get to prioritize our projects with the other municipalities to get, so we get to bring our projects to the committee. We're meeting, I wanna say it's the 19th or 20th, but we're meeting in this room in a couple of weeks, and say, this is our project, this is what we'd like to do. I'm gonna say, let's do a sidewalk on Granger, the one on Oakwood's gonna be great, scheduled for 2023. So let's put another sidewalk down our other road, that's also a problem, because there's nowhere to walk on Granger.
Right.
So let's do that, looking for, $100,000 to get started, looking for 300,000, whatever. But everybody else is gonna have projects as well. So every other municipality at the table is gonna say, well, I want 300 grand for this pet project, or I already saw in the citizen that Atlas is gonna resurface, is it Gale Road, I think, with, they're looking for 300,000 for that project. So everybody gets to come to the table with, their hat in their hand, and then we get to prioritize which ones and how much for each of the projects. So
So it's not just sidewalks, it's roads too, right?
road, it's supposed to be things that help with making things more walkable. So part of the road is that they're gonna put sidewalks down the side of that road that people go flying down right now because it's gravel. So they're gonna turn it into asphalt and put sidewalks and a walking path down the side of it is their plan. Is one project, but there's several similar projects that I'm sure will come up at the meeting, but I'm gonna say, let's put a sidewalk down Granger,
Good.
is my
Would
plan.
having,
Borrow the hammer?
I might need it, actually. Yeah.
would having the trail, system, which
Is something
ultimately, so we're trying to get it to Granger, would that be a helpful push to maybe get those
Yeah.
sidewalks?
The meeting in a couple weeks is to talk about funding, I believe, for 2027.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
it's
okay.
the small urban works that every other year, we're an odd year place. So 2023, we're doing Oakwood, 2025 has already been decided, and it's one, I wanna say in Groveland primarily. It's been a while since I looked at it, but we get to, enter the battle royale to decide who gets how much for their projects. And so I've been working on Granger is the one I'm bringing.
That would be awesome. So I'm hoping that trails might be an incentive that
Yeah.
they see that, no, we're
We're gonna tie into-
progressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I'm gonna bring my map and say, we're punching trails in here, you can
Perfect,
get to downtown,
Yep.
but you can't walk Granger.
beautiful.
All right.
And it's dark in the morning for children.
Yes.
Yeah.
So does the master plan reflect that at all for Granger?
It does. It talks about it a little bit. It also says that the village manager will get sidewalks on every street in the village.
Yeah, it does say that.
Love that one.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. But because it's a county road, we share responsibility, yada yada. But we were able to do it on Oakwood, so I don't see why we can't do it on Granger. So
Good.
yeah,
Maybe we have to talk with Brandon Township, they're part of it.
they are. Yeah, and they benefit. That's I won't be surprised if their project that they recommend is continuing the sidewalk from, because ours is going to go from 15 to Brandon Hills. I will. And I think they're going to say, let's do a sidewalk from Brandon Hills to the elementary school. Let's
That
make
would
the
be
sidewalk
awesome.
going down
Yeah.
Oakwood. So,
Granger could, yeah, like, they could get on that bandwagon too
Yeah.
with us, though. That would
yeah,
be
with the
great.
school and everything. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll strike out. I don't know if I'll, get all $300,000 allocated for it. I don't know. But I'm gonna come in guns blazing and see what I can do.
Thank you so
So,
much.
There's a lot of school safety issues there,
There are.
providing all that. It isn't just general walkability, but for kids to be able to walk that to get to school for an
Yeah.
awful lot of kids.
Yeah,
Health, safety, and welfare.
yeah.
Yep. Tomorrow is Safe Routes to School Day or Safe Walk to School Day
Oh.
as well. So
Are-
be careful in the morning.
Yeah, does the school, are they doing that?
Yeah.
Are they going for that grant?
Not that I know of.
Oh.
The Safe Route to School grant is very specific, and it's
Yes,
kind of a
it is.
big monster, and it's one I've talked to him about it a little bit, but
Yeah,
it's tricky. A lot of hoops to jump through.
yes.
Anything else, Rick?
Nah,
Cause
I want to ask again about a speed limit sign.
Oh,
New DPW order starts
I
in
don't want
next
to
week.
ask about it. Just
Good.
wait. We're not gonna press you on it. I'm sure it's coming.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Will, do you have anything that you want to,
Bring them.
that's going on?
I don't think so.
This Pete.
What's up?
You know Pete?
Yeah, I saw him the last meeting, I saw you.
Okay. Okay,
We're old friends.
okay.
Well, he's over here.
Okay, then,
Sorry.
village manager, you got anything left?
Sure, yeah, just a couple things. We talked a little bit about trails. With the passage of the ordinance adopted by the village council, I've talked to ITC a little bit about the rail corridor there. So more details coming. Their process is a lengthy one as well. But as we're talking trails, they are willing to play ball with us.
They gonna
Forest-
charge us for it?
What's that?
Are they gonna charge us for it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Not as much as it used to be, but yes. We'll come back to it another day. The next time the trails crew gets together, we can definitely talk about that. Forest management is another one I'm working on. I've spoken with lots of foresters who speak very highly of one of our own foresters. Working on creating a forest management plan. The other two are our next meeting. Bob and I have lined up a guest, and we're hoping to get some more people here as well. But we're planning to have Carlisle Wortman in attendance. Doug Luan is his name, but he's working on our zoning ordinance rewrite. So to get him to come and talk about what's possible. One of the kickers is that through the MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, we're able to get some technical assistance for part of our RRC process. So up to $20,000 for that. We contracted Carlisle Wortman for the $15,000 version of a zoning ordinance rewrite, which is like the base model. It might not have breaks kind of thing. With that extra $20,000, we can use that grant money to get the luxury version. We can soup it up a little bit. And so there's a lot more things we can do with our zoning ordinance to make it more clear, make it more user friendly. So Doug's going to come speak to us about that and the process, and hopefully get some public input. So we'll invite council, we'll invite people to come, and if they have thoughts or questions or things for him, he'll be in attendance at our next meeting, which is not on a Tuesday. So I just wanted to make sure we say that a few times. Because the first Tuesday in November is election day on November 2nd, so we are going to meet on Thursday, November 4th. here at 7 p.m. So that's a Thursday, November 4th instead of 2nd. We'll send lots of reminders to you, but
Okay.
Good idea.
That's,
questions on that one?
Of the land, we've had various, village and township meetings over the years.
Yeah.
He's always a really good source of information and decent human being, so, you know,
Good.
he should be good.
That's encouraging. You never know. No, we've talked on the phone several times, but anybody from Ann Arbor is probably okay by me, so.
Go blue.
The last one we wanted to talk about, I'll turn over to Jenna. We've been talking about planning commission terms, because Pete, you were just sworn in, you're on forever. No term, no, we've been talking about when everyone's term expires, because it's not exactly as clear as one might think. So Jen, if you wanna tell us more details?
Yeah, I can tell you my findings, and then I think maybe at a later date, I might need input on what everyone, the information you have, because I'm newest, obviously. My understanding is that all of the terms are 3-year terms, except, so the officers are 1 year, and then the council rep is based on the term they're serving on the board, so it'll be a 4-year, depending on what point they come in. I guess my questions are, after the officer's 1 year, what happens to their initial term when they were,
When you mean the officer, you mean the chair?
like the secretary and chair, yeah?
Okay.
Do we
That-
update their term?
That shouldn't be related to their term on the thing.
It's just their
Does that-
meeting.
It's 1 year of the 3-year term. Is that
That's
your
how it's looked
understanding?
at?
I'm thinking that, because every year we have to vote on a chairman and a secretary.
Right,
So does that mean the chairman's term is 1 year, but their term is still 3 years?
okay.
Yeah. That, I'm assuming that makes sense.
Wait, I took it too.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
good. I
Just
think
wanted
that's
to make
helpful
sure.
to not have
Yeah.
a new chair every
Yeah.
minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can have a new chair.
Yeah, because
But
every
somebody-
year you kind
Not
of,
somebody who's brand new to the
Okay, I just
commission,
wanted to make
that's
sure
what I
we're
meant,
clear.
so, yes. Good catch.
Oh, there was some back and forth between when the terms ended, if it was June 1st or June 30th, I don't know if there's a standard or a preference.
we did have a,
Well,
do you remember, was it June
do
30th?
they end at the end of the fiscal year?
That's correct, yeah.
Yes.
The officer terms coincide with the
So it
beginning
would be
and
June
end of a
30th.
fiscal year, so July 1st
Yeah.
would be the start.
Right, June 30th would be the end,
So
yeah.
June 30th.
Yeah.
Fiscal July.
And
Yeah,
remember,
July to June.
July 1st to June, 30 days,
Yeah.
September, to June, yeah, to June.
So the
30th.
officers are the same way, their year is,
Fiscal year, yeah.
Yep.
yeah, you remember
Aren't
when
we
earlier this
staggered?
year?
We're supposed
Yes.
to be, I know, that's.
Yeah,
I was
so Jenna has, I don't know how her brain is still in her head, because it was a mind-boggling exercise to try to trace back
Who
each
was-
seat on the planning commission to see when people were sworn in, and, you know, people drop off in the middle of a term because, you know, I couldn't make it to a few meetings and, you know, it's June, or I'm sorry, it's, you know, July and I'm gonna drop out, but you've already been sworn in for the year, so now is that person taking the seat for the next 11 months, or is it for 11 months plus the following year?
Oh,
It's been very ambiguous
Yeah.
for a very long
and
time.
that was me for the most of my time on the planet.
Well,
That's about as
yeah,
ambiguous
right.
as I could be.
Yes.
I was here, but I really wasn't when I was here.
right,
And Patty, too. Well,
Yeah.
she was off.
No, yeah, Patty
She
had
came
left,
back.
yeah.
yeah.
I'm a little more familiar now with that.
Yeah.
It was dark period.
So what are they, who, did you find out who's up or who, the staggered years?
Well, back in 2016 is when the terms were reset to reflect that staggering.
Okay,
And ever since then, there were some cases where they got off from that because planning would suggest, or recommend one thing, and then when council would do it, they changed it by a year, so the term got
Okay.
changed, so we're kind of off now, we kind of have to look at
Okay.
it again at some point and reestablish.
So is anybody here that's, you know, their term is totally up?
so So Chairman McCarthy,
As
are you
far as
gonna
we can
figure
tell,
that out
no.
for our planning commission then, so we got it together?
If everybody's okay with it, we'll keep everybody as is until the end of this fiscal year, which would be the end of June.
Right.
That, we don't need
And
to,
then set it in stone from that point on, and which will be much easier.
and at that point have so our May, June meeting, we'll talk about it more, but to say, who wants to do a 1-year term now, so that the next year you'll need to be reappointed for a 3-year term.
Oh,
Who
gotcha.
wants to do a 2-year term, so that 2 years from now you can be appointed for another 3-year term. Does
Okay.
that make sense? So across the 6 commissioners, and because the council rep doesn't count.
I don't count.
Your term is based on your council term,
Okay.
yeah.
Remember when
I did not
we
know
reset, actually Lee and I were the first ones to do that. Somehow we were reset for, I don't know, a year or 3 years, one of those.
Yes, because we all
The
took,
first ones to be in the staggered
yep,
schedule, you and I. So we probably, overdue
Rick-
already.
Rick and I are the same,
Yes.
Yeah.
or
So we probably expired 2 years ago.
they call that the A team.
I like that.
We do anyway. So Jen, do you have expirations?
Okay, so
Planning.
that'll just be an agenda item when it comes along.
For May?
Yes.
Okay.
So you
Yeah,
still
we'll
gotta
talk
keep
in
it
May, we'll make it official in June, because then council at the end of June can appoint everyone to their terms to take effect July 1 would be the goal. And then it's all clear, we know. And then every year we'll revisit terms in May and June. Just so you know, because that first meeting in July, the first meeting of the fiscal year is when we get to do officers again. So elect new officers, first meeting of the fiscal year.
Just remember, Bob, if you go out of favor, but you may have a 3-month grace.
That's right.
Well, now, what month was it that Larry said we were supposed to have elections on first meeting of the year, which he thought was supposed to be January, and so we had an election, was that May or something, when you were at?
That didn't happen.
I know he talked about that it was the calendar year for
Yeah.
the election for the officers.
But the bylaw says fiscal year, so,
Yeah.
so we did it prematurely,
Story of my life.
Yeah.
isn't it? That
Well,
was
we'll
like that word.
revisit it, because I know the
It was
annual
probably
report.
illegal for that whole time period.
You're
Yeah.
still illegal, probably, is what I'm
Barely
thinking.
legal now.
Exactly.
We'll
Okay.
revisit the fiscal versus calendar year is always tricky. I know annual
Yes.
report is based on calendar, so January we'll be talking annual report, but I'm not sure
Oh,
on.
I thank God, I only worked down there at the park department on calendar year, and so was the township. It was like a blessing. I had a BGYA. I've got Groveland, it's different. The village is different from Groveland. The school is different from all of those, and so is Brandon Township. There's 4 entities that have different calendar years.
Wow.
And CDBG, they just love it, trying to figure out who the heck is due and when.
Yeah, counties is probably different too,
I wouldn't know it.
so more to come, but
But yeah,
it's a conversation. That was it for my list.
So we need,
Oh, I should mention, in your packet is the planners gathering information from Oakland County. So if you're interested, check it out.
virtual, isn't it?
It is virtual. So planners from all over Oakland County getting together.
And it says, COVID rules, keep them or get rid of them. In there.
It
In
does.
other words, it's
Yeah.
In a post-COVID world, yes.
We're not there yet.
It is a virtual planners gathering, October 12th, 10:30 to noon. For some reason, there's
Well, you have to have a
two different
big-
meetings.
big screen put on.
Third and fourth grade.
It is, yeah.
and so just be sure that, get out your zoning ordinance through the next month, because so keep up to speed, because I'm sure they're gonna go through an awful lot of it and want input of any questions or concerns that we have, and it's really good for us to try to find it. If you haven't looked at zoning ordinances, which I don't have much experience at, it's it's not what you would call the most interesting reading in the world, and trying to figure out for sure, because it jumps from definitions to, everything makes a whole difference of what it really means. So we definitely need to look at it, at least get a handle on the booklet, so that when we go through it, we look like we know what we're doing. And I know I'm not well versed in the zoning ordinance.
Would anyone else like a printed copy? We're gonna print one for Pete. Okay,
Of the what?
the zoning
Is
ordinance.
this new or?
This is
The
the
same
one,
old
that-
one.
this is a rough draft.
This is our same old one.
Is it the
Right.
amended 2015? Because if not, I need a new one. This is the one the last one I got.
It was adopted in 14, I believe.
Okay, because this one was amended September 28, 2015. So I just want to make sure that I am working off the
I'm trying to think what they did then. 2015.
I'm not sure.
Alright,
Yeah, we'll print 2 copies.
okay.
We'll share the electronic copy too to make sure.
Yeah, 'cause
But
I
I just,
version.
I'll take one if I need a different version.
electronic
Okay.
would be good for me.
Yep.
If you put the electronic copy out, Larry will move back into the plane.
I have one like you got, no, I didn't see.
I said, if you put the electronic copy
Yeah.
out, Larry will move back into the plane. Good.
Okay, thank you. New business, revised bylaws.
Yeah.
Melanie, you wanna run through it,
Oh,
what the changes are?
well, all right, I guess I can. Okay, well, the changes are in red, obviously, but the, do you have a copy of it? Okay. So we can, just go to the very first red, the members A. The question, I guess it's more kind of a village manager question I'm asking. If we are allowed to have 9 or 7, we have chosen 7, do we just keep that?
Yeah, the no less than 5 or nor more than 9 comes from the Planning Enabling Act. And
Yes,
I believe our charter says 7.
okay. And because I
Maybe
don't have a
historically,
charter. Yeah, I know,
I
right?
have the
So,
original.
so-
Okay, so 7
is-
is the answer for
Yeah.
that. Beautiful. Now, the next one, B, even though we don't have red, we are going to have to add in there staggered term limits that will be revisited every fiscal year, I guess, right? For what we
Yeah,
just
that sounds good.
determined.
Is it,
Okay, number B, for the 3 years, so we'll do staggered term limits, and then you guys can figure out how you're doing those. And it's to
Gonna draw
be
straws.
reviewed every fiscal, and I wanna make sure we're doing fiscal, right? Not, we're doing our fiscal year, which will be the June.
Each fiscal year, at the beginning of each fiscal year. We want to be more specific. Each
Staggered
fiscal year.
limits to be reviewed,
Terms.
term limits to
Begin
be
with
reviewed every fiscal year, and then we could put in parentheses June 30th.
What's reviewed every fifth?
Terms, staggered term limits to be reviewed every fiscal year.
I don't think limits is supposed to be in there.
Okay,
Staggered terms,
Staggered terms.
just terms for
Terms,
limits,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
that's great, fine, all right.
but we have to say, are they staggered?
We have to
every-
determine
every
them.
year? In other words, say 2 people start and 3 years later, and then,
Well, is that what you guys are doing in
And
May?
next year, it's 2 different people.
and 2 other people's term starts a year later, is that, are they gonna be staggered a year apart like that for 3 years?
So that's the ideal.
Yeah,
That's how we want it to go, but there's always somebody jumps off in the middle, and now we've got 3 new people, because somebody's gonna finish this 1 term, and then 2 seats that were regularly
Right,
up.
we
so
should
can we
have
just
think
keep
it's
it
ugly.
should
vague
have
and
something
staggered?
Yeah.
saying what the intended.
and I would imagine in May, we will be revisiting this on that.
Yep.
B.
Yeah,
I'm guessing that, but we need to get something in there so that,
so we don't forget about it,
exactly. you know.
because we have, yeah, we've neglected it. But we have, when we do think of it, we just do it in the wrong months, I guess.
Yeah.
All right,
So is it,
we're gonna leave staggered, that way it's just kind of vague and how they determine to stagger it in May.
I wanted something like really different.
Can we change that in May then, when they make the definition?
Well,
I
once
think we
you
need
get the
to,
stagger done, then it's okay.
Then
I
it
think
should be.
staggered is appropriate.
Yeah, I think staggered it
And
is.
we can say whatever we want to say, but come May, when we review that very part of it, we're going to end up changing that B, I am sure.
And this is changeable, it's a living document, I mean, it can be changed, definitely.
Says it right there.
Right?
All right.
Okay, C, it's just shall and, or removal of any of its members. Before it was just reappointment. There may come a time when chairman or somebody wants to remove one of us, so, you know, we should have the option in there for them.
For cause.
Okay,
You
and
got
then
on
we did
your
switch,
flip-flop C and D.
yes, and is this now the, yes, and it's appropriate. Before, the commission shall was in D, so they have been switched on this. So this is how it will look.
Well, I assume you'll send us a edited copy.
I'm sure I think the office sent this out, so I think, right? Sure. Okay, and then next page, E. The village clerk shall keep the records, whereas before it was, the secretary was keeping the record of the minutes of all meetings, as well as a record of all transcripts and books and blah, blah. That's really a village clerk thing. If the clerk is not here though, the secretary is required to take the minutes. So that's why we changed that like that. Hey, it's time for dinner.
It's time to fill.
Here's my alarm.
I did. Or that was
And I
Bob's.
got it on work.
That was,
That was Bob's, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was Bob's.
And the alarm goes off no matter if you have it silenced or not. There's old people who got to take a pill after.
Yeah. So everybody take their pills, we can have a minute. Yeah, I'll with you, Bob. Okay, and now I don't feel I should have to read this
You
out
didn't
loud.
have
but
an A yet. before.
Agenda A, the red is what's added.
Yeah.
Now, the reason we added this, when the council redid their rules and regulations, this is quite similar to what they put in their rules and regulations. So we kind of just copied the wording, so it would be consistent.
I would add planning commission chair.
Where at?
To village manager. To the
And
village
I-
manager and
Oh.
or planning commission chair.
Oh, yep, thank you. Do you want to do and or just put to, chair?
I think and or,
Okay,
because then you got the option.
okay. Planning commission chairman? Or chairperson? Chairperson? And or village manager, thank you, that's a good catch.
Which one are you gonna put first?
Planning commission chairperson
Okay.
and or village manager. And did you agree with that time that is, was at 5 o'clock on the Tuesday for, is that enough time for the office?
Is that how
Generally.
we've been doing it that way, haven't we?
The 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, is that enough time for you to, okay. All right,
On the Tuesday.
do you see anything else in there that I was remiss with? And then B, the agenda, is this, okay, that is, hold on, that is redundant.
No.
He's got it.
Yeah, that's-
Oh, no, that's table matters, okay, never mind, yep. Support will be, later than the Thursday prior to the meeting, do I need to put a time there?
You gotta put prior to the meeting, prior to the scheduled meeting, I think.
Where,
The documents are on file with Commission
2, prior to the scheduled meeting. Thank you. Provided to the planning commission. There. And Thursday, yep, we're fine, the packets will be available electronically or print version. And I think Jenna likes you to, if you want a printed version, to please call Jenna and let her know, or else she just doesn't print it for everyone. So just let her know if you want to print it, and then she'll make one.
Did this?
I did call.
Yeah.
It is
Is
a
that not
standard
like-
policy that you have that packet.
Especially the
Hard
one
copy
that
here.
got altered, I just said
I think
change.
it makes sense to do it.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, now we are on page 3, and we switched around, we did the unfinished business before the new business, which also is consistent with what council's doing now, which makes sense, so that we finish what we've started instead of adding new upon new. And then, village manager comments.
You moved him to the back of the bus.
Yes, that was my doing. No, but it.
Well, we actually, there wasn't even a village manager comments in there, and Bob wanted to make sure.
But the location of that is that if we do any work on any specific item,
Yes,
at the end of it all, he can say shame on you, or, you know, whatever, or kick in whatever we're working
Yeah.
on at the end, instead of getting everything that he's got at the beginning and then.
yes, yep.
So this
Well,
is a
you
change.
should have to wait about a
Okay.
whole month.
But today we have village manager comments after item companies, new business,
Yes.
unfinished business, and then discussion items, and
Correct. If this is what you guys agree to,
Yeah.
and we vote to approve, yes,
And it kind
that-
of follows right along with the council's
Yep.
agenda,
it's consistent.
yeah. And it's
Instead
got
of,
to help Jenna some too.
Otherwise,
Yeah, it
they get
does.
lost if they come to our meeting.
right? Okay, all right, number D. Public comments submitted electronically or in writing shall be read at meeting and inserted into the file. So, right now, if there's anything that, emails that Ryan is getting or that the chairperson is getting, that way, if they're read and we are aware of them.
Which is good.
Yeah, I think it's a great policy. Okay, and here we go. A, regular meetings, Tuesdays at 7. And then I put, a location is determined by the village manager and chairperson. Should I do the chairperson and or village manager to keep it?
Well, I personally, I'd like to leave it so it's just like it is, and or means that either one of us could do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep,
Without the other one knowing
Good
it,
call.
very good.
and depends on who we trust.
Whoever gets cool.
Yeah, and the only reason we did that instead of saying at the Old Town Hall, in case if the heat's not working or the air's not working, or they can determine where, or if we need to, meet at a bigger place like the library.
I promise to never enforce the last sentence of that one. We will meet monthly. I don't plan on canceling any meetings. Sorry. We'll find some filler.
yeah, yeah, twice a year would be rather shocking, actually.
Yes.
And
There's
that
always
is one of
training
the,
we could do. There's
Yeah.
always something we could learn.
that's one of the,
Well, we
those
always
state
help
guidelines
with,
at least
sports
twice.
management.
Yeah.
Is when you get to the UP, they
We've only
really
got 3 hours.
meet like twice a year. I mean, but so that's a state guideline that
Yeah.
way it forces them to get together at least twice when they're in a small area like that, so. So, all right, what do we have next? 48 hours written notice. Remember that, special meeting. So this is special meeting request.
Is that written most be electronic?
This up to you guys. You want written, or electronic?
Then you start to look at texts and all that kind of stuff, and then it can kind of get a little screwy.
does.
Yeah, we think electronic needs to be
Yeah.
added in there.
Okay.
You think it should be?
Yeah, how did we do for council? What did we write in there?
I don't remember.
Okay.
exactly.
I will have to look, and then we'll keep it consistent. I should have looked at
Give
that.
me a second, we can find it. The definition of written notice is notification provided in either paper or electronic format, including but not limited to emails and PDF files.
Oh, that's why we probably did that in there then.
That's where we caught it on this, and I just have to.
Okay, because I copied this from from there, and that's why it says written. So that is acceptable.
So we're good there.
Do we need to define it at all? or-
Should we, since,
Well, written, if you go to definitions,
Yeah.
we don't have any definitions on our little
Oh.
bylaws. So should we?
or
The
C,
council does.
or
Yeah, we
C,
have a couple. So do we need to do a definition?
or you
Just
just
that.
put that blurb at the end of
Yeah.
this, right, down below.
Somewhere in there, that notification provided in either paper or electronic format, including but not limited to
Yeah.
email.
I mean, we could actually just ask for that one. I think it's the only definition we need, and then have it at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, or else you can just put 2 words or electronic after written, then you'd be done.
That's okay by me.
Makes it pretty simple,
Okay,
just to put a slash
let's do
electronic
that then.
and or, looks like we use that quite often.
I can do that, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Makes
Well,
it-
it is written, if it's
And
electronic.
the definition.
Yeah, forget that. Off. Okay,
I wouldn't
then we
mind.
have the commission must be present.
Handwriting.
So you're-
level.
Mhm.
Slash, and then hashtag that.
I like it. Number C, must, and for the conduct of commission business. Not sure what was there before.
Oh,
Oh, it was shall. So we changed shall to must be present.
And when we do that, we have must down there, and when in fact, for A, that the only way a simple words are already shall be present. I mean, there is no, must makes it sound not as official as shall. Shall kind of
Is it?
definite. Could we change must to shall in C?
You want to change it back? Because it was shall, and we
Was
changed it to must. Yeah,
Yeah, reading it, it just, shall is more appropriate.
Yep,
There
that's
shouldn't
fine.
be any question.
We will change that bad boy back. There we go.
which one's more positive or definitive? Shall or must? Which one has more authority?
Must.
Must.
Shall just sounds not as broad.
Must?
Right, must is like,
Must is
Must.
like a or.
um,
So shall, you just, it's smooth.
Whatever,
Well, I don't know, then must sounds well.
whatever floats your boat with it, I'm fine.
right.
Either way, you gotta be.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, and then, let's see, right there, I will change it back to shall. And then, of course, for the conduct for the commission business. And after that, the last thing is just a date. On the back page, number 4. But is there anything, after you guys had reviewed this, that needed to be added or taken out? Did all of you have time to look through this before this evening?
You know, I thought it was, I liked all your changes. I mean, they're not your changes, we all agree on these, right?
We just submitted them, so,
Okay,
yeah,
so this is when we approve these changes right now.
that's the goal.
Because you,
Not to be the grammar police, but in D,
Please.
page 3, comments submitted electronically or in writing, comments shall be read at meeting. I think it should be like another read at the meeting or read at. Does that make sense? The Ryan is reading it wrong.
Which one's that?
Shall be read at meeting, sort of,
D,
the meeting,
at the meeting or at a, or at,
page 3.
what do you have?
at, specified meeting?
Yeah.
The next meetings?
We could just say a planning commission meeting.
Yeah, at the planning commission meeting, and I started just before,
Okay. Where are you at there? No.
Page
Page
three.
3, number D. Shall be read, and then at, planning commission meeting, so
Last
add
time.
PC, the planning commission meeting, and insert into.
The, or each, and the,
Yes.
I think, in the Planning Enabling Act, we have to hold not less than 4 regular meetings.
Is it 4? I thought I saw 2. Cool. I don't
We
have
are on
mine.
that if we can.
Can you read the excerpt? I don't have mine with me.
It says, "The planning commission shall hold not less than 4 regular meetings each year, and by resolution shall determine the time and place of the meetings. Unless the bylaws provide otherwise, a special meeting," and it goes on.
We can put 4,
Yeah.
since we plan to have all of them.
Yes, we do.
Yep. All right, as soon as I find it.
Good catch.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, where is that?
Meetings.
meeting today.
Let's see. No.
Page 3.
Thank you. Page 3. Right here, there we go. Okay.
Is it full 4 hours?
So you said 4? Okay,
How I read it.
4 times. Thank you.
Is any other questions or concerns? I can tell you, Melanie sent me some information that no sooner do we get some things wrote up about bylaws, and she sends information to me that's a lot more in depth of different things that we might want to add at a later date. And I think we plan on revisiting the bylaws come May anyways. I think there's some things that, as long as Melanie hangs on to those documents, it had some interesting things that we may want to add into ours. With that, any other questions? A motion to accept the bylaws.
Do you want them to be corrected and sent out and then approved at the next one, or do you want to approve them now? Or do you want to look at the,
Let's get it done.
okay,
And then just say,
okay,
submitted correction to all of them.
okay.
Is that a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the planning commission bylaws as edited or corrected or additions, and we'll vote on it, and there will be a updated copy sent to the planning commissioners,
Is that the motion?
or the final draft, if you want to call it that.
Is that the motion?
Yeah.
But we,
Law.
I think we have to do that anyways.
Yeah.
We have no choice. Once the motion's made to adopt it, and then following, then all commissioners will be, I think we're required to send a revised bylaws to everybody.
We have to have a roll call or no?
We will when we get a second. Do we have?
Second.
You second it. Is there any further discussion? Did you get that?
Okay, yeah, wait, can you read back what that motion really is gonna be?
To adopt the planning commission bylaws, you can say with additions, or you said as corrected, and with
Revised.
additions.
Can we just say as amended?
As amended? Yeah.
How about that?
That's all-
And then,
that's all.
and that's it, that's all we need? Yeah, right there.
I was just lost for words.
No, you weren't.
Anything but.
Or lost for the right.
That's what it is.
Could you read that one more time?
Sure, to adopt the planning commission bylaws as amended. Do we want to know the dates?
So with that, we'll, any further discussion? We have a roll call vote on that, Jenna.
Burkett,
Yes.
Conway,
Yes.
McAvinci,
Yes,
Nivell,
Yes.
MacArthur,
Yes.
Holt Palshire.
Yes. Wait.
Thank you. Yeah, because we didn't spend an awful long time on it, but it just knew that there were some things that just need to be looked at, and I'm sure we'll be revisiting it at a later date too. Unfinished business, there is none at this point in time. Discussion items? Anybody? Anybody with anything?
No.
Going once,
you guys don't have anything?
going twice.
I'm interested in some of the committees that I'm hearing about, that I'm hearing people talk about, so I'll talk to them after.
Wonderful.
Go ahead.
Okay with that, a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion we adjourn this meeting.
Support.
Motion made and accepted. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you all.
8:15.